What if the walls of a house could whisper the secrets of those who never returned? That question haunted me as I stood before the crumbling facade of the old mansion on Willow Creek Road. The townsfolk of Jasper, a sleepy little hamlet nestled in the heart of Oregon, all knew the stories. They spoke of the house with a shudder, their voices trembling as they recounted tales of disappearance, madness, and the inexplicable shadows that flitted through the cracked windows. And yet, here I was, drawn to its malevolent allure like a moth to a flame. My name is Clara, and I've always had a fascination with the uncanny. Ever since I was a child, the unexplained had beckoned to me, whispering promises of adventure and danger. Perhaps it was the death of my father, the way he had vanished without a trace when I was just 10 years old, that ignited the fire of curiosity within me. Or maybe it was the stories I grew up hearing from my grandmother, who would sit me down on stormy nights and recount tales of lost souls and haunted places. But none of those tales could prepare me for what lay ahead in the house that was said to have claimed the lives of everyone who dared to enter. The mansion loomed before me, its once grand architecture now a decaying testament to the passage of time. Vines choked the stone walls, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and something rotten. As I stepped onto the creaking porch, I felt an inexplicable chill run down my spine. The front door, hanging ajar, seemed to beckon me inside, and despite the warnings echoing in my mind, I couldn't resist. My heart raced as I crossed the threshold, the darkness swallowing me whole. Inside, the atmosphere was oppressive, as if the very air was charged with dread. Dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through grimy windows, and every creak of the floorboards beneath my feet sounded like a warning. The walls, adorned with peeling wallpaper, seemed to close in on me, whispering secrets of those who had come before. I recalled the stories of the last family that lived here, the Grimwalds, who had vanished in the dead of night, their belongings untouched, the dinner table set as if they would return at any moment. What had happened to them? What had driven them to madness or death? As I wandered deeper into the house, I stumbled upon an old photograph, its edges frayed and yellowed with age. A family stood together, their smiles frozen in time, yet their eyes held a darkness that sent shivers down my spine. I recognized their faces, the Grimwalds. The weight of their lingering presence felt almost tangible, as if the very walls of the house were mourning their loss. Suddenly, the ground beneath me trembled, and a low rumble filled the air, causing dust to rain down from the ceiling. Panic surged through me. Was it an earthquake? Or something more sinister? In that moment, I realized I was not alone. There was a presence in the house, something that stirred in the shadows, watching and waiting. The stories of the townsfolk began to echo in my mind, the voices, the laughter, the shrieks of those who had once dared to enter and never returned. I felt the weight of their despair pressing down on me, and I knew I had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. But when night fell, something inexplicable happened. As dusk descended upon the mansion, shadows stretched and twisted across the walls, and I felt the air grow heavier, charged with an unshakable sense of foreboding. I tightened my grip on the photograph of the Grimwald family, my heart pounding as I turned to retrace my steps through the dimly lit hallway. But as I did, I heard it, a soft whisper, barely audible yet distinctly human. My breath caught in my throat, and I froze, straining to decipher the words that seemed to curl around me like smoke. Help us. The voice was a low murmur, and it sent a jolt of fear coursing through my veins. I knew I should leave, that I had crossed a line. I couldn't uncross, but the pull of the unknown was intoxicating. Was this the fate of those who had come before me? To become echoes trapped in the walls, forever pleading for freedom? Before I could make sense of what I was feeling, the front door slammed shut behind me, the sound reverberating through the house like a gunshot. Panic surged within me, and I rushed to the door, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped. My heart raced as I turned around, searching for an escape. That's when I saw her. A figure stood at the end of the hallway, small, frail, and cloaked in shadows. Her hair was a tangled mess, and her eyes glimmered with a strange intensity. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not safe." "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice trembling as I took a hesitant step toward her. "What do you mean?" "I'm Lila," she answered, her gaze flickering nervously toward the walls. "I've been here for so long. They won't let me leave." The desperation in her eyes sent a shiver down my spine. "You have to go before it's too late." "What happened to you?" I asked, my heart aching for this girl, this lost soul. "I need to know." "I came with my friends," she confessed, tears welling in her eyes. "We thought it was just a dare. We didn't believe the stories, but the house, it took them. I heard them screaming, but I couldn't help. I was paralyzed by fear." She paused, her voice breaking. "And now it wants me too. It knows your fears, Clara. It will use them against you." I felt the weight of her words settle over me like a dark cloud. How did she know my name? "What do you mean? How do you know me?" "The house whispers," Lila replied, her voice trembling. "It knows everything about those who enter." She stepped closer, urgency etched on her face. "You have to trust me. We need to find a way out together." Before I could respond, the walls groaned ominously and the whispers grew, louder, surrounding us like a storm. I felt the darkness close in, pressing against my mind, tugging at the edges of my consciousness. Memories of my father, his disappearance, the way I had felt that day, lost and abandoned, flooded my thoughts. The house was feeding on my fears, using them to tighten its grip. "Clara!" Lila shouted, breaking through my reverie. "Focus! We need to find the others and escape. They can help us." The mention of others sent a jolt of hope through me. "Others? There are more?" "Yes," Lila breathed, her eyes wide with urgency. "But we have to hurry." As we turned to navigate the darkened hallways, the house seemed to shift around. Us, the layout twisting in ways that defied reason. I could feel the air pulse with a malevolent energy, and I knew we were running out of time. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, drowning out my thoughts and urging me to succumb to despair. But as I glanced at Lila, I saw the flicker of determination in her eyes, a shared understanding of fear and desperation that bound us together. Together, we would confront whatever haunted these walls, and perhaps, just perhaps, uncover the truth that lay buried within the shadows. But I knew now, deep in my bones, that the journey ahead would test not only our resolve, but also the very limits of our sanity. The house was alive, and it was hungry. As Lila and I hurried through the hallways, the oppressive atmosphere of the mansion swirled around us, thickening with every step. The whispers intensified, wrapping around my mind like a vice. I fought to keep it together. But with each passing moment, I felt the edges of my sanity fraying. Who was I in this house of horrors? What had I truly come seeking? The answers seemed to slip through my fingers like grains of sand. Then, just as we turned a corner, I noticed something peculiar. A door that had previously been hidden in the shadows swung open, revealing a room bathed in an eerie, flickering light. Lila hesitated, glancing back at me. "We shouldn't," but I was already moving, drawn to the illumination as if it were a beacon. Inside, I was met with a chilling sight. Photographs lining the walls, each capturing moments of laughter and joy, yet each one felt tainted with an underlying sorrow. My heart sank as I recognized some of the faces. My father among them, smiling alongside the Grimwald family. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. He had been here before, and whatever fate had befallen them might have also claimed him. "Clara!" Lila's voice cut through my shock, urgency flooding her tone. "We need to leave!" But I was rooted in place, my thoughts racing. How did my father end up in these pictures? What does it mean? I turned to Lila, desperation lacing my voice. "Do you know anything about him?" She shook her head, fear etched in her features. I don't know. But the house, it knows. It uses your past against you. You have to resist it. Suddenly, the light in the room dimmed, and the whispers crescendoed into a cacophony of anguished cries. "Help us! Help us!" The torment echoed through the air, and I felt a surge of panic as the walls began to close in, the photographs warping and distorting as if they were alive. "Clara!" Lila screamed, pulling me back into reality. "We need to go, now!" But just as I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of my eye. A shadow darted across the room, and I gasped as a figure emerged from the darkness. A boy, gaunt and hollow-eyed, his face twisted in anguish. "You have to listen! You're part of this!" he shouted, his voice cracking with urgency. "They can't have you!" "Part of what?" I asked, my heart racing. The boy's frantic gaze locked onto mine, and a wave of recognition washed over me. He was one of the lost souls Lila had mentioned, another victim of the house's insatiable hunger. "Your father, he made a choice," the boy continued, his voice trembling. "He tried to save us, but in doing so, he sealed his fate. You're the key to breaking the curse." Confusion swirled in my mind, and panic clawed at my throat. "What do you mean? How can I be the key?" Before he could answer, the house groaned again, the walls shuddering violently. I felt the ground beneath me tremble, and Lila's grip tightened on my arm. "We have to go! Now!" As we stumbled back into the hallway, the boy's warning echoed in my mind. My father had sacrificed himself, and now it was my turn to confront the darkness that had ensnared us both. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but I couldn't turn back now. The truth was unraveling, and I was determined to find out what lay at the heart of this nightmare, before it consumed me too. My heart raced as Lila and I burst back into the hallway, the oppressive atmosphere of the mansion pressing down on us like a weight. Every instinct screamed at me to flee, but the boy's words echoed in my mind. "You're the key to breaking the curse." What did that mean? As the walls seemed to close in around us, I felt the pull of the shadows, the whispers promising secrets long buried. "Clara," Lila panted, dragging me further away from the room. "We can't let it take you." But my feet felt heavy, anchored by the gravity of my father's legacy. "I can't just run," I managed to say, panting. "I have to understand. I have to confront this." Lila's eyes widened in alarm. "You don't know what you're dealing with. It will twist your thoughts, make you doubt everything you—" "No, I have to try," I shot back, the resolve hardening in my chest. The boy's shadowy form lingered in my mind, the urgency in his voice igniting a fire within me. My father had sacrificed everything, and if there was any chance to save him, I had to face whatever darkness awaited. Just then, the hallway trembled, the floorboards vibrating beneath our feet. Lila stumbled, and I steadied her. Determination flaring. "We have to go back. We have to confront the truth." "No!" she cried, panic lacing her voice. "Clara, please!" Ignoring her pleas, I turned on my heel and marched back toward the flickering light. The air thickened with dread, but I pressed on, Lila reluctantly following. I stepped over the threshold into the room again, the photographs now glimmering, ominously, the faces in them contorted with anguish. I could feel their sorrow wrapping around me like a shroud. "Clara!" Lila's voice trembled, but I silenced her with a determined look. "I need to know." As I approached the wall of pictures, the boy's figure re-emerged from the shadows, desperation etched into his gaunt features. "You have to understand," he urged, his voice a frantic whisper. "Your father didn't just try to save us. He made a bargain." A chill ran down my spine. "What kind of bargain?" "The house demands a sacrifice. Your father thought he could save us all, but in trying to protect you, he chained himself to this place. You must choose, break the cycle or become part of it." The whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar, swirling around me, urging me to make a decision. My heart raced as I gazed at the photographs. Each one haunted me, a reminder of the lives lost, of the choices made. "What do I have to do?" I asked, my voice trembling as I faced the boy. "Face the darkness," he said, his eyes pleading. "Only then can you free him. Only then can you be free." The moment stretched, tension crackling in the air. I could feel Lila's anxious presence behind me, her uncertainty palpable. But I couldn't afford to hesitate. I was on the precipice of understanding, teetering between fear and resolve. Took a deep breath, letting the weight of my father's choices settle over me. "I'll face it," I declared, my voice firm. "I will break this curse." As the shadows began to swirl around me, I steeled myself for the confrontation ahead, knowing there was no turning back now. The house shuddered, the walls seeming to pulse in response to my declaration, and I took my first step toward the heart of the darkness that awaited me. As I stepped deeper into the room, the oppressive shadows coiled around me like serpents, whispering secrets I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. The boy's figure flickered beside me, a guiding light in the encroaching darkness. "Remember, Clara," he urged. "The truth is your weapon." I could feel the air grow colder, the very essence of the mansion tightening its grip on my thoughts. I focused on the photographs lining the walls, a gallery of souls caught in the web of my father's choices. Their faces twisted in anguish, a reminder of what was at stake. I steeled myself, drawing on the resolve that had brought me this far. "Show me," I commanded, my voice steady despite the terror clawing at my insides. The shadows pulsed, and suddenly the room shifted. The images transformed, revealing moments of despair and regret. I saw my father, a desperate look in his eyes as he made his fateful bargain, promising to protect me at the cost of his freedom. The realization hit me like a blow. He had been trying to save not just himself, but all of us trapped here. The shadows thickened, and with a roar, they surged forward, wrapping around me like a vice. I felt their cold fingers digging into my skin, pulling at my very essence. Pain shot through me, and I gasped, my vision blurring. But amidst the agony, a flicker of clarity emerged. I focused on my father's love, the sacrifices he had made. "No more," I shouted, channeling every ounce of strength into my voice. "I refuse to be a part of this curse." With that declaration, a blinding light erupted from within me, illuminating the room and banishing the darkness. The shadows recoiled, writhing in fury before dissipating into nothingness. I collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath, the echoes of ancient sorrow lingering in my mind. I had survived, but the cost was etched into my very being. The emotional scars of knowing the depth of my father's sacrifice, the weight of the lives lost. As I lay there, I caught a glimpse of Lila, who rushed to my side, her face pale with concern. "You did it, Clara! You broke the curse!" But her triumphant words felt hollow. I knew the truth. There were still remnants of darkness lurking, unanswered questions that would haunt me. "Not all of them are free," I murmured, glancing at the fading photographs. The faces looked less tormented, but their eyes still held a lingering sadness that suggested they were not entirely at peace. We have to help them. Lila nodded, determination igniting her expression. We will. But what about the boy? He's still trapped. I turned to where the boy had stood, only to find a lingering shadow, a promise of his existence still tethered to this place. He needs us, I said, my heart heavy with the weight of new responsibility. We have to find a way to release him, too. As I rose to my feet, the remnants of darkness still danced around the edges of my vision, teasing at the corners of my mind. The mansion had been quieted, but the mystery was far from over. I could feel the pulse of the house, a heartbeat that hinted at deeper secrets yet to be uncovered, mysteries that would lead us down paths we couldn't yet foresee. Together, Lila and I stepped out of the room, ready to confront the unknown, the shadows of the past still whispering in our ears, urging us to seek the truth that lay just beyond our reach. As Lila and I stepped into the dim hallway, the air crackled with anticipation. I could still feel the boy's presence lurking in the corners of my mind, a gentle tug urging me toward the truth. The mansion held its breath, as if it were waiting for the next move in this deadly game. We ventured deeper, the shadows flickering with a life of their own. I could hear whispers, taunts from the remnants of despair that clung to the walls. Yet I pressed on, my heart pounding. Suddenly I recognized a familiar figure emerging from the darkness, my father. His eyes, once filled with torment, now glinted with something darker, more sinister. Clara. He beckoned, his voice smooth but laced with a chilling edge. You've done well, but you don't understand the power that lies within you. Join me. Together we can harness this darkness. A wave of horror washed over me. The boy's flickering form beside me dimmed, fear etched into his features, as he realized the transformation. My father, once a man of sacrifice, had succumbed to the very darkness he tried to protect us from. Dad, no! This isn't you, I yelled, but the shadows began to swirl around him, enveloping him in a cloak of malevolence. He grinned, the warmth of his love replaced by a chilling ambition. Embrace it, Clara. You are destined for greatness. The mansion will be ours. In that moment, I felt the darkness clawing at my resolve, tempting me with visions of power and control. The boy's voice echoed in my mind. Remember, the truth is your weapon. Yet, the seductive whispers of my father tugged at my spirit, promising freedom from the pain that had haunted me. Join me, Clara, he urged, his voice transforming into a symphony of darkness. Together, we can become unstoppable. As the shadows thickened around me, I felt the pull of corruption. My father was lost, but I too could become something powerful, if only I gave in. With trembling hands, I took a step forward, wavering, on the precipice of my choice. In that moment, I realized the price of the power he offered. It would consume me, just as it had consumed him. I could feel it clawing at my mind, but I hesitated, caught between the light of my father's memories and the tantalizing allure of darkness. With a chilling clarity, I understood. If I accepted, I would lose myself completely. The boy's flicker dimmed further, a silent plea for me to resist. But the shadows were relentless, whispering sweet promises of a future ruled by fear and control. As I teetered on the edge of total corruption, I faced the truth. The darkness was not just in the mansion, it was in me. I closed my eyes, grappling with the weight of my decision, knowing whichever path I chose would echo through eternity. Then I opened my eyes, and in that moment, I felt something shift within me, a hunger for power that threatened to engulf my very soul. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more tales woven with mystery and darkness. Share the journey with your friends so they can also dive into this adventure. Leave a comment below sharing your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story.